prohibited the shchita, and one cannot eat from the meat. What happens if you have this intention plus a good intention? There are two intentions. Shnayim ochzim b'sakin. Two people holding on to the knife. One the top of the knife, one the bottom of the knife. The shochtin. And together they are slitting the neck of the animal. One is saying, I'm slitting the neck of the animal as an act of service to the mountain that I worship. The other one is saying, I'm slaughtering the neck of the animal just to have kosher food. So then, shchita so psula, even though it's only one of them with the wrong thought, that already triggers this rabbinic prohibition, and the shchita is no good. The meat cannot be eaten. Says the Gemara, we said twice in the Mishnah, in the case of a person shechting for rivers, deserts, mountains. In the second case, two people shechting, one for the right things and one for rivers, mountains, and deserts. The shchita is psula. The shchita is disqualified. You can't eat the meat. Psula in. It's disqualified. But zivchei mesim lo. But it doesn't say that it became an offering of avodah zara, which is zivchei mesim, that you cannot even get any benefit. As Rashi says, zivchei mesim le'aser b'hana kedin takrovas avodas kochavim sha'asura kames, to become prohibited from even getting benefit, like the offerings to avodah zara, which are considered like dead bodies, and you can't get benefit from them. A dead body you can't get any benefit from. So it doesn't say here that if somebody slaughters the animal for the mountain, or or for the river, that the animal now is an offering of avodah zarah and you can't get any benefit from it. It just said that the shechita is no good. You can't eat it. It sounds like you could still get benefit. So it sounds like psula in zivchei mesim lo. It's not yet an offering of avodah zarah that you can't get any benefit. It's just that there was not a good shechita. Or rabbinic law, it's not a good shechita. Or but I'll challenge you from a brisa. In the brisa, hashochel l'shum harim, someone who slaughters as an offering to the mountains, for the sake of the mountains, l'shum gvos, for the sake of the hilltops, l'shum naharos, for the sake of the rivers that he worships, right? Like we read in last week's Haftorah, Paro and his relationship to the Nile. The Nile was the god of Egypt, so some guy in Egypt takes a sheep, he says, I'm slaughtering it for the Nile. L'shum baros, or if some people worship the deserts, he's saying, I'm slaughtering it for the deserts that we worship. L'shum chama, for the sake of the sun, ulavana, or the sake of the moon, l'shum kochav mazalos, for the sake of the stars, or the horoscopes of stars, the constellations of stars. L'shum Michael asara gadol, he's slaughtering it for the sake of the angel Michael, who is the great angel of the Jews. L'shum shilshul katan, or for the sake of the smallest worm. All of these acts of slaughter render the animal prohibited from deriving any benefit from it. It's now like a dead body. It's zivchei mesim. It's offerings that are like the dead. So what do you see? That it's worse than what the Mishnah says. The Mishnah says slaughtering for a mountain, it's not a good sleep, not a good slaughter. It's not kosher. You could get benefit from it. You could sell it to a non-Jew. You can give it to your dog. But here it says it's zivchei mesim. Slaughtering to a mountain is like a dead body. You can't get any benefit from it. You couldn't feed it to your dog. You couldn't sell it to a non-Jew. You can't get any benefit at all. It's avodah zarah. It's an appendage to idol worship. So Rabbi explained, lo kash, it's not a contradiction. There's no contradiction to the Mishnah and the Brisa. Hadamar lahar, hadamar legada dahar. One, namely the Mishnahs, where he says, I'm slaughtering the sheep for the mountain. I'm slaughtering it as an offering to the mountain. In the Brisa, it's where he says, I'm slaughtering the sheep for the angel of the mountain. So Rashi says, Hadamar l'shum har, here he's saying it for the mountain. Har eino nasa avodas kochavim. And this was something that Fred brought up yesterday. The mountain itself doesn't become an idol. Because the pasuk says, Eloheihem al heharim. It says in the verse, their gods are on the mountains, but the mountains themselves are not gods. The mountains are attached to the floor. Hashem made it that way. It doesn't become a god. It doesn't become prohibited. If somebody slaughters for the mountain, that's not called an offering that makes it into have the status of a dead body. Umiyu, however, you're still not allowed to eat it. Why? Why is the shechita no good? So Rashi explained it's a rabbinic law. Because it looks like we're an offering to idols. It looks like offering to idols. People do worship that mountain, even though they don't prohibit the mountain, but they worship it. Things would be confused. People would say, well, if when I slaughter to the mountain, I'm allowed to eat it entirely, people might think if somebody slaughtered to the angel of the mountain, they also could eat it. They would get confused with Avodah Zarah. Okay, so we're going to learn in the next Mishnah. If somebody slaughters for the sake of something which is a promise, a neder, or a nedava, the shechita is no good because it looks like someone who's slaughtering a carbon outside of the Beis Hamikdash. So that's where Rashi explains the sugya. Rashi explains there's a difference between slaughtering to the mountain versus slaughtering to the angel of the mountain. Slaughtering to the mountain, as Fred points out, since the mountain's not really Avodah Zarah, the act of slaughtering to the mountain is not a slaughtering to Avodah Zarah. But it looks like a slaughtering of Avodah Zarah, because if somebody were to slaughter to the angel atop the mountain, that would be already Avodah Zarah. That's what Avodah Zarah is. They're worshipping all sorts of powers. They're worshipping angels. They're worshipping, spiritual concepts. So since slaughtering to the angel of the mountain is Avodah Zarah, slaughtering to the mountain looks like Avodah Zarah, and therefore slaughtering to the angel of the mountain makes it an offering of Avodah Zarah. You can't get any benefit from it. Slaughtering to the mountain does not make it an offering of Avodah Zarah. You could still get benefit, but midrabanan, it is a non-good shchita. It's not a kosher shchita. Yeah, question.
Rabbi, first of all, we could do sheching on the mountain.
Shchita anywhere.
Okay, now, who is having the wrong thought? The
shochet,
or the owner of the...
Now it's the shochet. Yesterday was the owner, now it's the shochet.
Now, what happened if the shochet has it but doesn't say anything to the owner? So, the owner doesn't know.
We would have to hear from him.
He has to declare it. Say, I'm sorry, I had the wrong thought. Bring me another animal.
When we say thought, always it means that he said it. Dvarim shabalev einam dvarim. What's in the heart is doesn't count.
The shechter.
The shechter says it. I worship this mountain and I'm slaughtering to the mountain.
Oh, I mean loud.
Yeah, you said it out loud.
Oh, not thinking.
Not thinking, correct.
Oh, okay.
Rabbi.
Yeah, please.
So it seems that you undermined the Rashi or Rashi's interpretation when you started with the beginning. Because in the beginning you mentioned how in Egypt they actually worshiped the Nile. So that's not the case of the mountain where they don't worship on the mountain. So how would Rashi or how would you explain that?
I think it would still be the same. They worship the Nile, but the Nile doesn't become Avodah Zarah. They can't give the Nile the title Elil. It's God's creation. God made the Nile. Some people are Meshugayim, but they can't give it a chalos shame, a new classification of Elil. They can't. So Elohehem al heharim, below heharim Elohehem. The mountains themselves, the nature itself, does not become Elohehem. They may treat it as Elohehem, but it does not have the status of an Elohim. So somebody who's worshiping to the Nile also, it would not be Avodah Zarah, even though they considered it a god, but to us it's not.
And one other question. One other question, which is, it seems unusual that the Mishnah would give a list of all of these things. Is that to say that there is that list is exclusive, or is that to say if it's not exclusive, then why didn't the Mishnah just say for the sake of the hills, why they have to give the 4 or 5 other examples that it gives?
I don't know, but it's certainly not exclusive. Amar Rav Huna said, I'm sorry, no, right? One is where he says to the mountain, when he says to the angel of the mountains. The Gemara says, Dekanami, now I can also prove that correct, because in the Braisa, Tektani, one of the examples was Michael Sarah Gadol. Somebody who's offering to Michael, the great angel, and Dumi Michael Sarah Gadol. Apparently all the others are prepared to Michael Sarah Gadol. Shmami, no, that's the proof. And Rashi explains what's the significance, what's the difference between an angel and a mountain. They're both created by God. So Rashi says, Dumi de Michael, Delo Mechuberu. An angel is not attached in one place. The mountain is stuck in one place. It's a special verse. What's stuck in one place, what's mechubar, that doesn't become Elohim. But angels that move around from place to place, or other things, they could become, in fact, avodah zarah. Now Rashi says here, Baalei Chayim, animals, avagav lo mitzri mishum avodas kochav gedekan lo mitzmura. An animal that gets worshipped, you can't use it as a korban, so that sounds like it doesn't become avodah zarah, it doesn't become aser ba'ana. Miu elokos mikri, it is elohos mikri, it does have the title of Elohehem. So in other words, the animals, well, they may not become prohibited, but they do have a shame elilim, whereas the mechubar, what's attached, doesn't get the shame of elil. That's what Rashi tells us.
So Rabbi, if a cow was worshipped by the Hindus,
yes,
then we cannot shecht it?
We could.
But the Hindu kill you.
The Hindu would kill you, yeah. But, so you're saying it's avodah zarah? It became avodah zarah. Rashi says here, Baalei Chayim lo mitzri mishum avodas kochavim, that the animals, there's a special pasuk. Since the pasuk says you can't use a worshipped animal for a karban, but you can't use it for a karban,
You can use it for chulin, for
you could use it
food.
for food, right? You could use it for chulin. But if somebody were to slaughter a sheep to the cow, then that sheep would become something which you couldn't get any benefit from. Because that's a sheep slaughtered for Elohim, for a real God, for I should say real God, for their Elil, for that which has the name Elil of an idol. That's what Rashi says. But there's a special pasuk that the animal itself becomes permitted.
So Rabbi, in a real world, everything has an angel attached to it. Every human being.
Not only every human being. The Medrash says in Bereshis Rabbah, a very famous Medrash, I think it's Perek Yud, Amar Rabbi Simon. Rabbi Simon said, Ein lecha kol esav ve'esav. You don't even have a blade of grass. She'ein lo mazal. That's the term that the Medrash uses for angel. She'eino maka osa. It's not hitting it, v'omer lo gdal, telling it to grow. But every item has an angel. Every item in the world has an angel.
Since it's too far away between us and Hashem, because it's so holy.
Right.
Even Moshe couldn't look at the...
Right.
So is it like you could talk to your angel to send a message?
Good
You
question.
make it faster situation here?
Right, but no, that's what the Rambam says. The Rambam says that no, we have to directly address Hashem. That's part of what the Gemara said in Masechet Shabbos. Ein mazal liyisrael. The Jewish people, we're not through the mazalot, we're not through the constellations, we're not through the angels. We are directly with Hashem, and we're not supposed to work through the angels at all.
Not at all.
We're not allowed to. It's a form of Gentile ways of worship. We're not allowed to do anything which is Gentile-like forms of worship.
Now sometimes, when you enter in a room and you see a person, all of a sudden you get allergic to that person. Does that mean his angel and your angel didn't get along? Is that what it is?
That could be. Absolutely. That could be. That's
Out of nowhere, just you see the guy is,
that certainly could happen. Sometimes that happens, that's right. Yeah, question. Yes, we could. Yeah, we could say that, but we're not asking Gabriel to give us the bracha, the yeshua.
Like we go into Lamedim, the tzaddikim. We don't.
Right. Okay, we're on Daf Mem and Aleph now. Now we get into the topic of the law that you can't prohibit your friend's animal. Ein adam oser davar she'eino shalom. Okay, Amar Ravuna said, Ha'isa behemas chaveira refutza lifnei avodas kochavim. Once, if you have your friend's animal down in front of avodah zarah, it's Reuven's animal in front of, the idol Baal or Kamosh. Kevan sheshachat ba siman echad. If you go and you slaughter in it one pipe, either the trachea or the esophagus, asra. It now becomes avodah zara, becomes takrovas avodah zara. It becomes prohibited to get any benefit from it.
Just because he was in front of it.
Because it's not because it was in front of it, it's because you did an action to it.
So this is the bowel of his own animal, right?
No, somebody else's animal.
Or this is someone else's animal?
Mm-hmm.
חברו, בהמת חברו, explain.
Irrespective of the intent.
Right. No, your intent was for avodah zarah.
So why is it relevant that the animal was in front of the idol? What about just the intent?
בהמת חברו, and he has lived the shkita, but because he was
Right? It seems that it's the fact that he was in front.
So Rashi's point is that as Rashi, and we'll see this in the Gemara soon. The point here of the Gemara is like this: if somebody has an animal, and people bow to the animal does not become prohibited to derive benefit from it. Right? If somebody offers an animal to a mountain, the animal and the mountain don't become prohibited to get benefit from it. But if somebody takes an animal and he does more than bowing to the animal, he actually does an action in the animal of an offering to avodah zarah, then it becomes prohibited. And in fact, the same would be true in terms of the mountains. This is what Rashi says here, this big Rashi. If somebody bows to mountains, ground attached to the ground, it doesn't become prohibited. If he digs in them pits, and then he bows to the pits, he does prohibit them. So therefore, hachinami, that's what we're saying here. Even though it's alive, mitzri, it becomes prohibited because there was an action done. One of the pipes was slit. So we're going to see the whole discussion about how much has to be done. The same thing would be true even if he slit only half of the pipe. And his friend's animal also. Even though normally you can't prohibit what's not yours. Ravuna is telling you once you do an action, you can prohibit even that which isn't yours. The point is, Ruvain has an animal. Yankel goes and takes Ruvain's animal. And maybe Yankel puts it down in front of Kamosh. And Yankel slits one pipe for the sake of an offering to Kamosh. The animal now became prohibited to get benefit from it. If Yankel bows to Ruvain's animal, it wouldn't make it prohibited. If Ruvain doesn't want Yankel to make it prohibited, doesn't matter. We have rules, the Mosu Darashino Shalom. We have a rule that a living animal doesn't become prohibited. That's all true. But once there's an action and avodah zarah, there was an avodah zarah act, and it's an animal, now it already becomes prohibited. Even with that which is attached to the ground, if there would be an act and idol worship of that which is attached to the ground, it would become prohibited. So I remember years and years ago when the Taliban first appeared on the scene, everybody was all upset, the UN, that they blew up 2 statues of Buddhas.
Who's that?
But according to this Gemara, according to this Rashi, it was right to blow up the statue of Buddha, because even though it was a mountain,
Right.
but it was an act done to the mountain, and then worshipping of the act. That's what Rashi says, digging a hole, and then worshipping that which is dug, that does become prohibited as avodah zarah. So they were getting rid of the avodah zarah. It's not so bad. The truth is they didn't have to do that, because as we learned in Masechet Avodah Zarah, a non-Jew could just be mavatal, can just say, I don't believe in it anymore, and then already can leave it. But per se, if they didn't want to be mavatal to break avodah zarah, it's not so bad. Yeah,
Was that because his act was mashana, like different than just bowing to?
no, because there's a maisa. There's a maisa. Once there's a maisa, then already it can become avodah zarah. So that's again the point here. Amar Ravuna
Bowing
said,
would be a mitzvah also, that wouldn't count.
no, that's not an act. That's not an act in it.
So I'm saying
Here's an act
because
in
it's
it.
mashana, because to change
And
it
it
to.
doesn't change it though. It's not enough of a shinui for Hilchos
Then why else
Shinui
does he have the
Kohen.
power to change it? When
Because
he
there had to be a maisa in it. So again, Amar Ravuna said, if someone else's animal is in front of avodah zarah, in other words, not that It had to be in front. It could be standing in front of the Avodah Zarah too. It happened to be that his animal was in front of Avodah Zarah. And comes the bad guy, Yaakov, and Shachat ba, and he slaughters it for Avodah Zarah. Once he slaughters one pipe of it, Asra becomes prohibited as Avodah Zarah. Why? Because Savar La, Ravuna holds, like the lesson of Ula and Rabbi Yochanan. Even though the halach is that if a person bows down to somebody else's idol, nothing happens. Certainly doesn't become prohibited to get benefit from it because of the pasuk. Living things don't become prohibited to get benefit from them if they get worshipped. But even in terms of being disqualified to be used as a carbon, it doesn't get disqualified to be used as a carbon, just through the bowing. But asaba maisa, but if you did an act of cutting a little bit in it, then already asra becomes prohibited as avodah zarah, and you cannot even get benefit from it for chulin.
Angels are not considered living things, I believe.
No, because angels move. They're not the same.
Well, animals move.
Yeah, no, but it's not the same. It's from the pasuk about the animal that's what the Gemara is going to tell us in Tzmura. Because since an animal which is nevad, is worshipped, can't be used as a carbon, it's to say it can't be used as a carbon, but it could be used as chulin.
Rabbi, let's say you're davening and you do mishtachavim in a outside. All of a sudden an animal, a sheep, come while you're doing the mishtachavim, pass by you. If that animal is not.
No, that's nothing because we're not trying to worship the sheep.
It's not,
And you couldn't even do anything. Your bowing to
That
the
was
animal
nothing.
doesn't make it avodah zarah anyways.
it was not Avodah Zarah then.
That's fine. So now, Eisver of Nachman Rav Huna. Rav Nachman challenged Rav Huna. We learned in a brisa. Within a brisa. The brisa is trying to pile up sins. How can a person end up doing, maybe 3 sins at one moment? So like this. Hashochet chatas b'Shabbos. So he's slaughtering a carbon chatas, but he's doing it on Shabbos. Now on Shabbos you can only offer communal carbonis. You can't offer your own carbon chatas. So that's number 1. So that's a violation of Shabbos. Plus, it was a sin of bachutz. He did it outside of the Beis HaMikdash, so that's the avera of shchutei chutz, slaughtering a carbon outside of the Beis HaMikdash. And he was doing it la'avodas kochavim. He was doing it for avodah zarah. So then, and he does it all by mistake. So chayev shalosh chatos. Now we'd have to bring 3 karbanos chatos. 1 for violating Shabbos by mistake, 1 for doing avodah zarah by mistake, 1 for doing shchutei chutz by mistake. Now, if you're going to tell me, once you begin the shechita, once you do an act for avodah zarah, it already becomes avodah zarah. It becomes prohibited to get any benefit from it. So, and all you need to do is shecht 1 pipe. So understand? So then they shouldn't be chayiv a carbon for offering a carbon out to the Beis HaMikdash here. By the time it was a kosher shechita of a carbon, namely 2 pipes, it was already aser b'hana. It was already prohibited to get any benefit from it, because once you did 1 pipe for avodah zarah, it becomes avodah zarah. So machatich ba'afaru, it's not slaughtering a carbon; he's just cutting dust. He's just slicing dust. It's not a carbon anymore. It became prohibited to get any benefit from it before you got to the stage of a carbon. So Rav Papa said, even though the Brisa said chatas, here we're talking about a chatas ha'of, which only needs to slit 1 pipe. And therefore, the kula b'hadi adadi ka'asi. Then all these 3 sins are happening all at once. When he slits the 1 pipe, he's violating Shabbos. When he slits the 1 pipe, he is making it into avodah zarah. And when he slits the 1 pipe, he is offering a carbon outside. So Gemara says, 1 second, Mechti, let's take a look. Rav Huna came out Amar L'Shmaita, as Rashi pointed out. Rav Huna didn't really say you need a whole pipe. He says you need an act. Who is he following? Ula. He's following Ula. And Ula, what did Ula say? Again, Ula said, Right? He's following Ula. Ula is if you do an act with avodah zarah, then it becomes prohibited. Ula maisa goto kamar. Ula is just saying any act, just an act. Ula is just saying an act. He's not saying more than an act. So here was an act. So if it's just an act at the very beginning of it, it becomes avodah zarah. When he first makes an incision, it became all avodah zarah, because that's already an act. Meanwhile, it's only a shchita of a chatas when it's at the end. At the end, it's a shchita schutz. So it should only be 2 karbanos. It should be a carbon for avodah zara and a carbon for chilul Shabbos, but it shouldn't be a carbon for shchutei chutz. It's not a shachut b'chutz till one pipe is done. But when one pipe is done, it was already avodah zara. It was already dust. So again, Mechti, to take a look. Rav Huna came out Amar Lishmai to it. Rav Huna say it's law like Ku'ula. Ula Maisa Kotukam. Ula should say any act. It doesn't have to be a whole pipe. So Ella, so the case of this Brisa was Ba'omer B'gmar Zvicha Hu Ovta. It's where the guy says it's not worship of idols until the end of the Shechita. So when he gets to the end of the Shechita, it's Shchutei Chutz. He's shefting a carbon outside the Beis HaMikdash, and it's a violation of Shabbos. And it's a violation, then it becomes avodah zarah, because that's what he's worshiping. If that's the case, by area chatas, then why do you have to tell us about a chatas? Lishmin and zebach, it could be with any carbon. And he says that the service is only going to be at the very end, so then the avodah zarah is only going to be at the very end, so then he has multiple averos. We're going back to the idea that it's a chatas ha'of. And a chatas ha'of, all you need is to slaughter one pipe, but really you don't even need to slaughter one pipe. You need to slaughter the majority of the pipe. And here what are we talking about? Exactly half of the pipe was already slit on its own. And now he has a chatas ha'of, and on Shabbos he forgets that it's Shabbos, he forgets what he's supposed to be doing, he forgets that there's an aveira of avodah zarah, and hosef olav kol shu. He adds a little bit. So by adding a little bit, gamro, that's already considered completing it, because now it's a majority. Now that it's a majority, kulu, only 3 sins, chilul Shabbos, shchutei chutz, offering a carbon outside, and offering to avodah zara, adi adadi ka'asin are all happening at once. That's just to bring 3 karbanos.
How does one violate a avodah zara b'shogeg, would require a carbon chatas if he's actually making a designation as the Gemara says, that he is worshiping an idol? How can that ever be a shogeg?
I actually think that there are a lot of, let's say, Jews for Jesus that are over the avodah zarah b'shogeg. A lot of people don't know anything. And they are very mistaken. They think that this is religion. This is what God wants. They're all confused. They think there's no Aveira. There's no Aveira of Shita. There's no Aveira of Avodah Zarah. They're mixed up. So they say it's Kiddush, but it's also the blood of their Lord and Savior. You know, it's unfortunately. So now it says Rav Papa, Amar Rav Papa, Ilav da Amar Rav Huna, Siman Echad, if not for the fact that Rav Huna said that to prohibit the animal of your friend, when you slaughter it, you have to slaughter one pipe, lo havya chatas tiyufta. And I wouldn't have had a problem from this brisa of chatas, which we resolved in the end. I wouldn't have had a problem, because I would have said, my Maisa would have thought that what type of an act do you need? Maisa Rabbi, you need a big act. It's not enough just to do something. You need to do a big act. But once we said that no, it's only one pipe. One pipe in an animal is meaningless. It's 2 pipes that are meaningful. So you see that you don't need any big act. You just need a act. If you need a act, even less than a pipe. Rav Papa said further, he loved Rav Huna, not from the fact that Rav Huna said, that Yaakov can mess up Reuven's animal. Lo havya chatas tiyufta. We wouldn't have been asking from this situation of somebody slaughtering a carbon chatas. It was my time, but why wouldn't it be a problem? Tidei matzi asa. I would have thought like this. If it's his own animal, then he prohibits it with a little act. But if he's slaughtering his friend's animal, lo matzi asa, he can't prohibit it with a small act. He needs to do a big act. So it wouldn't be such a question. But since he said it was his friend's animal, that's why it was a question. So what's the I mean, all of these is obvious. We just worked through all these points. Why did Papa have to tell us? So we're explains. Now the Tim would have thought to say chatas. Since the chatas in a certain way is mine, because the chatas is enabling me to get kapara, so that should be considered my own animal. It should be considered my own animal. Kamashman, that's his point. A chatas is not my animal. It's not mine. It belongs to the Beis HaMikdash. It belongs to the Kohanim. And therefore, the only reason why we have a law that a person can prohibit the chatas is based on the law that we said of Rav Huna and the law of Ula. Somebody can prohibit somebody else's item with a little act and a declaration of avodah zarah. Rav Nachman and Rav Amram and Rav Yitzchak Amri, they disagreed. Rav Nachman, Rav Amram, and Rav Yitzchak say, a person cannot prohibit what's not his. So if Reuven's animal is sitting and there's an idol there, and Yaakov runs and he comes and he slaughters Reuven's animal entirely, even so, it doesn't become prohibited because he can't prohibit what isn't his. Meisvei, I'll challenge you. We learned if somebody slaughters a chatas on Shabbos, bachutz, outside the Beis Hamikdash, outside the Azara, la'avodas kochavim, as avodah zara, chayiv shalosh chatos, he will have to bring 3 karbanos chatas. Well, Kimna, we just went through this whole explanation. What are we talking about? Chatas ha'of. We're talking about a bird, which is the chatas. Ubachatzi kaneh pagum, when half of the pipe was already wounded, and he added a little bit to it. So taima, the chatas ha'ofu. We had to say it was the chatas ha'of. Why? In order to have a situation of 3 prohibitions happening at once: avodah zara, Shabbos, and shchutei chutz. Avol zevach, but the implication was if it would have been an animal, lo, then you wouldn't have 3 prohibitions happening at once. But if you're going to say that a person can't prohibit somebody else's animal, so why only talk about chatas ha'of? It should be chatas behema nami. It should be a chatas of an animal as well, right? Let's say somebody has a chatas which is an animal, so by definition it doesn't belong to him, because if it's a chatas, it's holy. It belongs to Kohanim maybe. They're going to get to eat from it, but it doesn't belong to him anymore. It's a chatas. And if he slaughters it on Shabbos, there's Chilul Shabbos. If he slaughters it outside the Beis HaMikdash, if he slaughters it for Avodah Zarah, there's the Aveira of Avodah Zarah. And if he slaughters it outside the Beis HaMikdash, there would be the Aveira of Shchutei Chutz. What are you going to tell me? No, the moment he began the slaughtering for Avodah Zarah, it became prohibited in benefit. Once it's prohibited in benefit, it's not Shchutei Chutz anymore. It's not slaughtering a carbon. It's just cutting dirt. But you just said that you can't prohibit what doesn't belong to you. So since, as a chatas, it doesn't belong to him, it belongs to the Kohanim and it belongs to Hashem, it didn't become Avodah Zarah. It doesn't become Avodah Zarah. It doesn't become prohibited as Avodah Zarah. It could be a sin of Avodah Zarah and doing the act of worship, but it's not going to become an item of Avodah Zarah. So then, my area chatas ha'of. Why do you have to talk only about chatas ha'of? Afilu chatas behema nami. You could say it even in chatas behema. So the answer is, it's not a question. Because here you'll say this far that before we rejected. The kanle kapara. So you're talking about a chatas. It does belong to him somewhat. It belongs to him because it enables him to get kapara. Once it enables him to get kapara, kedidei dami, it belongs to him. Since it's as if it's his, therefore everybody agrees that if a person has his own item, and he takes his own item and he offers it to Avodah Zarah, it becomes Avodah Zarah. Everybody agrees to that. It becomes prohibited as Avodah Zarah. So therefore, the moment he would begin the shechita for Avodah Zarah, the whole item became Avodah Zarah. By the time he gets to the end of the shechita, to be the sin of shchutei chutz, it's already not an animal. It's already just dirt. It's already Avodah Zarah. So therefore, it wouldn't be a case of getting 3 prohibitions at once. Yeah, question, David.
Rabbi, according to Torah Kuna, who holds that you can forbid someone else's animal
if there's an
act, is that a durabanan or that's his understanding of the deraisa?
Deraisa, it sounds like.
That's his.
But didn't we learn that what matters is the intent of the shochet, not the owner?
Correct.
So
that was in terms of disqualifying the shechita, but we haven't yet seen this topic of making the item that he's slaughtering isur hana, we're able to get benefit from.
It's very contrary to what we've learned historically.
yes.
How can one bring a carbon chatas for an animal that doesn't belong to it?
No, we're saying
You're saying
once he dedicates it as a chatas.
Yeah, but he can't dedicate a chatas.
No, but once somebody says harei ze chatas, it's now kachim. Kachim are not his. Kachim kal and shlamim are his.
I know, but how does
chatas, it's not his.
But how does he even have? Forget about
because it had begun as his. Since it had begun as his,
but it wasn't his. We just talked about that it wasn't his animal.
No, it was his animal. No, we're saying it was his animal. He made it an animal of chatas for himself. So now that it's a chatas, it belongs to hekdesh. So now that he's slaughtering it as avodah zarah, he can't aser what belongs to hekdesh. That's why it doesn't belong to him. We say no, but since he gets kapara, it does belong to him.
And that's specifically the machlokus in the rabbis, whether you view it as belonging to him or not.
It had belonged to him initially, though.
But I'm saying some aspects.
Right.
That's the machlokus.
That's right. Whether now, later, since he's still getting kapara, it makes it considered his. Rabbi Chananya ben Akash Yomer Ratz Hakadosh Baruch Hu L'Zakos Yisrael Aficha Kipalim Torah Mitzvah Shenemar Adonai Chafetz Laman Tzidko Yagdil Torah V'Yadir.
Yiskadal Yiskadash Merabah V'Yoma Divrak Yevushay V'Yamlich Machusay V'Chayekon V'Mekon V'Chayet Kodek Yisrael V'Adala V'Zman Karim V'Imru Amen.
Amen.
Yisparach V'Yishtabach V'Yispor V'Yisraman V'Yisnaseh V'Yis Hadar V'Yis Aleh V'Yis Halal Shmei V'Kodesh Baruch V'Yela Minkol Berchasa V'Shivasa V'Yishbachasa V'Nechemasa Damiram V'Yama V'Yimru Amen. Hay Yisrael V'Yal Ramadan V'Yal Talmidei V'Yal Kol Talmidei V'Yal Kol Man V'Yaskin V'Raisa V'Yasra Dein V'Yibachol Asar V'Yasar Hey Lahon V'Chom Shlom Rabach Hina V'Chesta V'Rachamim Haina V'Yitei Zoner V'Yitei V'Chana V'Chana V'Hon V'Yishmaya V'Yarabi Amen. Hey Shlom Rabbi V'Yishmaya V'Chaim Tov V'Yamata Yisrael V'Yinu Amen. Shalom V'Yimrama V'Brachama V'Yasar Shalom Aleinu V'Yakol Yisrael V'Yinu Amen. Amen. Gentlemen, good morning.